Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to theCUBE's live coverage of VMware Explore here at the Venetian in Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm your host, Rebecca Knight, sitting alongside my co-host and analyst, Paul Nashawaty. Paul, this is a great show, and you are back to back to back.
Absolutely, it's a fantastic show, lots of buzz happening here. You know, a lot of people were concerned about, well, what's happening with Explore? Is it going to be as exciting? It really is exciting, lots happening here.
Okay, and a great segue to introduce our next guest. He is Mark Fournier, CIO of United States Senate Federal Credit Union. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Mark.
Hey guys, yeah, pleasure to have me. Thanks. It's a pleasure that you guys are having me here. And you know what, actually, I'm so hung up on what you were just saying. The energy at VMware Explore this year, it's really palpable.
It really is.
And really seeing the turnout, it's been incredible.
It's good.
Yeah. Excellent, so why don't you start by telling our viewers a little bit about United States Senate Federal Credit Union, because it's not just for the Capitol Hill community. Anyone could join, is that right?
That's true. So we're actually this year celebrating our 90th year. We're, for those that aren't familiar, credit union's a not-for-profit financial cooperative. So basically we can serve all the same sort of retail banking functions that anyone might need, but we've got it as a focus to deliver that service and not just to deliver to shareholders. The members, our customers, who we refer to as members, they are the shareholders. And yeah, to your point, anyone can become a member. You know, we have a core group, US Senators, the name implies, and their staff, but several different communities on Capitol Hill, which I won't go through a name, and we recently launched our own not-for-profit foundation, focused on financial education within our communities. And really that's a path for membership. Quick donation and you're eligible.
Why don't you set the table a little bit and talk about some of the biggest challenges that your institution faces? What are you wrestling with right now?
I think, well, okay. So some of the things that I'm wrestling with and that the team really wrestles with is this feeling of never enough time, never enough resources, but a ton of ambition. There's a lot that is happening on the marketplace, whether that's you know, the immediate competition that we face, our credit union peers, or the greater competition that I think credit unions sometimes overlook, the tier 1 banks, JP Morgan, Bank of America, Capital One, to name a few. These are self-proclaimed tech companies that happen to do finance, right? And our members go to them probably more than we'd like them, and we want to learn from that and deliver just as great an experience at a wonderful cost point for the types of services that they're looking for. So yeah, delivering on that vision, it's tough.
Yeah, it really is, right? I mean, when you look at what the business that you're in the business of banking, right? It's a very hyper-competitive market, right? And the tech stack that goes along with it is equally competitive, right?
Absolutely.
When I work in my practice, I talk about past, present, and future, right? And we're always looking at the heritage applications and how they become modernized. So can you talk a little bit about your tech stack and what you're offering, especially with regards to, say, VMware, like we're here?
Yes, yes, absolutely. No, and it's great. So our team recently completed our initial upgrade to VCF9, which I think is a big buzz here at Explore.
It is.
We're early adopters of the VMware Private AI Foundation stack, which brilliantly is now included in VCF9, and I hope everyone is able to take advantage of that as an accelerator. Beyond that, we've got a lot of the same kind of legacy challenges too.
Sure.
Our core banking stack is in line with a lot of other financial institutions. You talk about mainframes, and modernizing those, that's not really a direct, easy task. And so a lot of what our team works on is what can we build as an envelope around that? We're not going to get that out of the way today, tomorrow, but we can create a more seamless experience at the front end and do a good job for the internal users that are supporting customers as well as the customers directly.
I love talking to practitioners because practitioners actually talk about what they're doing, right? We're talking to vendors that say, this is great, it's all pie in the sky, it's awesome, right? But but I really love to hear what you're talking about. VCF9 really offered that kind of ease of use, like reduce the complexity, right? When we talk about the stack, right, and we talk about the heritage applications that you may have at, a lot of organizations are looking at modernizing by building new front-end applications, like maybe a React application or a mobile application, and they'll attach to existing systems of record, right? And when they do so, that's how they modernize, right? But keeping the bridging the gap between the old and new. Is that something similar in your environment? No,
that's absolutely something that we're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. So we're very fortunate to have an incredibly talented, I almost said cast, but team that, not just in the technology arm, but across our enterprise. But most recently, about a year and a half ago, the organization made a really strategic decision to say, okay, let's bring in and invest in product management. Let's bring in and invest in software engineering. Let's unlock that capability internally so that we can deliver things that aren't just great for credit unions as an industry, but that are great for our vision and the membership that we have. And some of that is just bridging the gap and creating some front ends, most recently for the new membership. You know, anyone can join, but right now it's not the easiest thing in the world to do. In a month from now, we think it's going to be one of the best experiences out there for any institution. And that's our starting point to do some even bigger and better things.
So what has that done to your culture of innovation in terms of bringing in product managers and bringing in different kinds of people to the credit union, doing different kinds of work, I imagine, than what you're accustomed to be doing?
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's a really, really cool question because there is a balance. Credit unions have a long tradition and a long history of focusing on a low rate. Right? We want to give a low rate because we're not concerned about a great margin. We want to just deliver the best competitive product. And however that gets done, whether it's really manual or not, doesn't matter. And that has allowed for a focus of customer service, which we excel at, and that bottom line rate. So when we start talking about innovating and new products, it takes a little bit of transition because there's a question that I think naturally comes up of, but everything's great right now. We already have great rates. Why do we need to put a bunch of money into something else? And why do we need to split our focus into something else? And you know, and it's more than just doing some really cool stuff with some really cool people. It's about delivering a great experience and staying relevant in the face of
key. That's key.
The relevant part is, because we can have a great rate. We can be a full percentage point lower or 2 percentage points lower, whatever that difference is, but if it takes weeks to do it, in today's age, there's attrition there with who's going to put up with that. So.
Yeah, I make the comment often that the days of submitting a help desk ticket and waiting 3 days for something to get resolved are long since gone, right? What we're finding in our research is applications in most organizations are looking to deliver those applications on an hourly basis. 24% of organizations responded in a recent survey that they want to deliver it on an hourly basis. Right? So that means you have to have a very dynamic environment in order to do that.
And so that's also something we've kept in mind. Hourly basis, what a vision, what a dream, and we're quite confident that VCF is going to be key for our own efforts in that regard. We, earlier this year, investigated cloud as, taking a cloud native approach to app development, something very familiar to the software engineering team and the product team, but what we found was that we really weren't getting the speed that we expected. You know, that's the line, is that, oh, you should be going fast, you should be going, and we just weren't there.
Well, and the reality of it is not all applications need to be refactored, right? You can really utilize your existing environment to meet today's modern standards, right? You don't need to refactor everything.
Yeah, and we were able to do that with VCF a lot faster than I think most of the team expected, so it's been great.
How also, in terms of bringing in new, different kinds of workers with different job titles, do you think about hiring for your particular team too? And are there skills gaps with your existing employees, and in terms of the kinds of people that you're trying to bring in? Are you trying to upskill them, or are you saying, stay in your lane, you're actually good at what you do, I need to bring in some new blood to move our agenda forward?
No, we absolutely want to upskill. Upskilling is one of the most critical pieces of this entire innovation journey that we're on. And I think that's probably true for everybody else here. That's taken some different, it's come together in some different ways, I should say. So, in the technology group, that means a focus on some generalization. while also ensuring people have some protected time to explore Gen AI or
Sure.
other aspects of large language models. While at the same time, in an area of our business that's very traditional, like lending or the front end of customer service, it's giving them a safe space to explore on their own time, and also engage with them pretty directly to say, hey, look, we're not just doing this because IT has a great idea or we think we have a great idea. We're doing it because we're working for you and we know you have great ideas. We, about a year ago, did an educational effort across the entire enterprise, the start of this year actually, and we ended it with a submission run of, hey, give us your ideas, like, let's see. And we had a thought, okay, maybe we'll get like 100 ideas, 150 ideas, and 500 plus.
Wow.
Now there's some duplicates, okay, but even after consolidating that, it was well above what my dreams were, and so I know that there's this culture in our org of people that want to do more, they want to do bigger, they want to do better for the membership and for the longevity of who we are.
I can't believe we got this far into the interview and we started just talking about AI.
I was going to say. I think that's a record, 10 minutes in, 10 minutes in.
Yeah, should I have led with it at the very beginning?
No, it's all good.
It's good.
So how are you thinking about Gen AI and agentic AI in terms of helping people do their jobs and derive more satisfaction from their jobs and automate certain tasks? How are you thinking about AI right now?
Well, so the first thing I want to say is that we're very, very clear internally, and I'm just trying to make sure I say this in the right way. It doesn't shock anybody or come across negatively. Our CEO has been very explicit and prescriptive with this, that AI is not a means to eliminate staff. It is not a means to eliminate purpose. It is a means to let us do way more than we've ever done before, and to make our work life, quite frankly, a lot better. That is the intention from the top to everything else.
It's a production tool, yeah.
Yes. And our journey, beginning as an early adopter of private AI about a year ago now, was really just, we came off of a small event. There were tier 1 banks, there were the big investment houses, and they were all talking about AI and how complex it was, but they were tackling it and all the resources they were going to dedicate. And I remember speaking with the team and thought, is it really that hard? Or can we do this? Like, what if we just try? Let's get a few things together. Let's not we don't have budget. We're at the end of the year. What can we achieve? Let's get with Broadcom. And I think from concept to VMware Explore of last year, we delivered our first internal Gen AI POC, which over the course of the first 90 days achieved roughly 30% daily active user versus monthly active user. So it was pretty well adopted and then routinely used, which has been maintained and grown. Today, that's evolved into a whole slew of POCs and use cases. Right. We could get into agentic AI, but it's running the gamut right now, which is fantastic. It's
an interesting kind of direction that you're going, because I just fielded a study that showed that in the next 2 years, we're seeing that the growth at the edge locations alone for organizations of growth of 500 to 1,000 production workloads that are using AI, but production workloads and new applications being developed at the edge locations alone. I imagine, with the branches and the such that you're working with, you have application development going on and you have this going on. AI is only going to help accelerate that, wouldn't it?
Yes, and so when I hate to give like just a one-word confirmation, but the color with it is we think that for our org particularly, there's a huge opportunity leveraging AI for that acceleration in development. I heard a comment recently by someone that kind of said, well, AI coding, it's cool, it feels nice, but there's no real ROI unless you start cutting staff. And it made me think, well, we don't have that much staff to begin with.
Right.
And so if we can get a 30% accelerator on our small team, and then level up even further from there as these models continue to improve and we gain more confidence and understanding, I mean, sky's the limit for us.
It's productivity booster, right?
Exactly,
Actually, yeah.
Yes.
So I'm going to ask a little bit of a interesting question. What we're seeing in the app dev space is, the developers, because AI is in place, developers now are expanding outside the professional developer world, right? So we're seeing that the citizen developers, the lines of businesses, are starting to be developers because they have the ability to do work. How are you putting governance, regulations, and controls in place? I mean, being in a financial institution, that's a really important place.
It is, and one of the key things for us is working very closely with our risk and compliance and legal partner. So we routinely involve our, from the top down, starting with my peer, the chief risk officer, on down through his team, enabling our staff. There's a tier 1 bank that I won't name drop, but they're a bit of a beacon. They have certainly gone that journey to enable everyone across the org to have that capability and to find the things in their business day to day that they can agentify, for lack of a better term. We share that vision. We want to see that kind of result, and I think we're going to get there. Maybe a year from now we can give another update.
Well, we will have you back a year from now at the next VMware Explore, and you'll tell us all about the success.
Sounds great.
Mark, thank you so much for coming on theCUBE. A real pleasure having you.
Yes, thanks for having me.
I'm Rebecca Knight for Paul Nashawaty. Stay tuned for more of theCUBE's live coverage of VMware Explore. You're watching theCUBE, the leader in enterprise tech news and analysis.